Hari Om, Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. I am grateful to Swami Chid-Ananda ji for this opportunity to be able to interact with you. I have chosen a difficult topic. The topic is, what is Sat-Chit-Ananda? This is both difficult to understand and perhaps even more difficult to teach. I will do my best. For a sincere student of Vedanta, there are 6 important topics that you need to be very clear about. Each time we study a particular scriptural text, we need to know how this particular scriptural text has helped you to understand these 6 topics. Technically, or in Sanskrit, it is called jeeva, jagat, Ishwara, bandha, moksha, and sādhanā. By jeeva means, what is my true nature? Not what I know about myself, but what the scriptures have to say about our true nature. In addition to the jeeva, I also see a world around me, which is technically called the jagat, or the world. I know quite clearly that I am not responsible for my creation. I'm not responsible for the world around. I know that there is no intelligent being who's responsible for the whole creation. There must be someone who has created all this, and we call that God or Ishwara. So each of our studies should give us a scriptural guidance as to what is jeeva, what is jagat, and what is Ishwara. The jeeva we can refer to as ātmā, jagat as not me or anattma, and God as paramatma. In addition, I see that there is a lot of limitations that I'm going through. There is a lot of problems in the world outside. This would technically be called bandha or samsara. Scriptures also talk about a way out of suffering, a way out of all these problems, and to discover one's true limitlessness, which is technically called moksha. Scriptures also talk and tell us a way how to go from bandha to moksha through various spiritual exercises, and these are called the sādhanās. So essentially, we need to know what are the 6 topics that these 6 topics. What is jeeva, jagat, Ishwara, bandha, moksha, and sādhanā? For this, we go to the scriptures. And for a student of Vedanta, there are 3 scriptures that we need to work on, and they are called the Prasthana Traya. This is the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, and the Brahma Sutras. If I can grade them by the level of difficulties, it would be the Bhagavad Gita as an undergraduate level, which is relatively easier to understand and to comprehend. A little higher than the source book of all the Gitas are the Upanishads. In one of the Dhyana shlokas, it is very nicely said, Sarvopanishado Ghavo Dogda Gopala Nandana. Krishna has milked from the Upanishads and presented to us in an easily digestible form as the Bhagavad Gita. Even higher a text is the Brahma Sutra. There are 555 sutras, and sutras which are very cryptic, which are extremely brief. For example, the first 4 sutras are Athato Brahma Jignasa, Janmadhyasya Yataha, Shastra Yonitva, Tattu Samanvaya. These 4 sutras itself come under a category called Chatusutri. These have been elaborated by Shankaracharya, and to be able to understand them, it takes a student many weeks to months to understand what Brahma Sutras are. The scriptures will give you all these topics that I said. What is jeeva, jagat, Ishwara, bandha, moksha, and sādhanā? But unfortunately, they are not in a very systematic way. They are spread all over. And to make it easy for the students, the great teachers have written certain texts which are called the Prakarana Granthas. Many of them by Adi Shankaracharya, like the Viveka Chudamani, Atma Bodha, Tattva Bodha, and other great masters like Vidyaranya Swami, the Panchadashi, the Drigdrishya Viveka, and more recently, Sri Ramana Maharshi in the two great works, Upadesha and Saddarshanam. A study of all these would help us to get a clear understanding. While a student is pursuing these scriptural studies, one should be very clear what is my objective. The objective is Parama Purushartha or moksha, which is also called Jivan Mukti. The Upanishads many of the Upanishads have in a very amazing way in which the truth is presented. For example, the Mundaka Upanishad. The Mundaka Upanishad begins with the student Shaunaka coming to the teacher Angirasa and asking this question, what is that knowing which everything becomes new? What is that principle if I know that everything in this whole creation? That means all of us should be awakened to the fact that there is something knowing that everything is revealed. And the entire Upanishad answers, what is this Sat among the Sat-Chit-Ananda of Brahman or Vedanta? What is the Sat principle? There is another amazing Upanishad called the Kenopanishad. The Kenopanishad begins with another very interesting question. The question the Kenopanishad student asks is, I'm able to see, I'm able to hear, I'm able to speak, I'm able to act. What is that divine principle? What is that deva within me which allows me to speak, which allows me to hear, which allows me to act in this world? And the answer that is brought out in this Upanishad is the Chit aspect of the Sat-Chit-Ananda. There is another Upanishad I would like to refer to is the Chandogya Upanishad, where the student Narada approaches his brother Sanat Kumara. Narada is highly accomplished. He is able to travel to all the three lokas extremely freely and interact with all the Trimurtis. There is no field of knowledge where he is not a master of. And yet he goes to his brother with the sense of, although I am so accomplished in the field of knowledge, there is something which makes me feel incomplete. There is some amount of sadness in me. Why is that? And his brother, Sanat Kumara, who is also an avatara of Subramanian, reveals the Ānanda or the Ananta or the infinite principle of the Sat-Chit-Ananda aspect of Brahman. What is this Ananta? And he brings out a concept, or he brings the terminology called Bhuma. Bhuma Vidya means the infinite. Yo vai Bhuma tat Sukham. Sukham is there when you experience limitlessness. Dukkham, whenever somebody says no, whenever there is any aspect of limitation, there is sorrow. And true Ananda is experienced through Ananta. The Taittiriya Upanishad has one chapter. It has got three chapters. The chapter that I refer to is the second chapter, called the Brahmananda Valli. The Brahmananda Valli begins in a very amazing manner. And the sentence is, Brahmavid apnoti param. The knower of Brahman attains the highest. What do you mean by attains the highest? Of course, here it refers to the Parama Purushartha. I would like to refer to you a certain story. This is a story of a certain Sufi mystic who was traveling from one oasis, crossing a huge desert to another oasis. He reaches the oasis as it is getting dark. He and his followers are extremely hungry. They're looking for a place where they can get some food. And it so happens that a rich man is hosting a banquet. And they're very hopeful that food is available. And when you are hungry, you have no hesitations in approaching and asking for food. The rich man was inviting all the guests to come. And the Sufi master with his followers also approached the place where they could get food. And when the rich man observes them, he says, I do not know who you are. And suddenly he remarked, but I know myself. And then he reflected how unfortunate it would be if the whole world knew me and I did not know myself. So much of our quest is to be known by others. Whereas the Upanishad says far more important than anyone knowing you is whether you know yourself. So the Upanishads talk about something called Brahman. What is Brahman? Brahman is what we would call the infinite principle or the God principle. To understand what is Brahman or Sat-Chit-Ananda, I will address this in the form of 6 questions. What is Brahman or what is Sat-Chit-Ananda? Where is Brahman located? What is my relationship with Brahman? What is the nature of this knowledge? What is the nature of this knowledge? Or it means this knowledge or knowing Brahman is a very different kind of knowledge. So what is the nature of this knowledge? How do I get this knowledge? And what is the benefit of knowing Brahman? What is Brahman? That is what is my whole talk about it. Brahman is the infinite principle in Vedanta known as Sat-Chit-Ananda. Where is Brahman located? Brahman is located everywhere. There is no place where Brahman is not located. But if you have to discover Brahman, the Upanishads say you have to discover it in the cave of your heart. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma Yo Veda Nihitam Guhaya Parame Yoman Soshnute Sarvan Kam. The Taittiriya Upanishad quotes a mantra from the Rig Veda which says Brahman is hidden in the cave of your heart, and you have to do various sadhanas, various spiritual exercises to be able to discover this divine principle which is there within you. What is my relationship with Brahman? My true self is Brahman. What is the nature of this knowledge of Brahma Vidya? Vidya or knowledge can be categorized as 3. One is, supposing I want to know about Kailash Manasarovar. I have never been there, but I'm very keen to know more about Manasarovar and Kailash. So I Google, I go to the internet, I go to YouTube, I can get a lot of images, a lot of literature on both Manasarovar and Kailash. And because I have never been there, and this is only information that I have got indirectly, technically this knowledge that I have acquired is called Paroksha Jnanam. And one day when I have a chance to visit the place and experience the place directly with my eyes and my sense organs, now it is another realm of knowledge when this is direct. And this is called Pratyaksha Jnana. Now, is Brahma Vidya Paroksha or Pratyaksha? The teacher says it is neither Paroksha nor Pratyaksha. It is Paroksha Vilakshanam or Pratyaksha Vilakshanam. And so they give a new term called Aparoksha. Aparoksha means it's neither remote nor direct because it is none other than me. The 4th or the 5th question is, what is the method of getting this knowledge? The method of getting this knowledge is through the scriptures under the guidance of a teacher, and the whole process is known as Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga is of 3 steps. First is Shravanam. Shravanam is when I listen to the teacher consistently for a period of time. That is what is called Shravanam. A consistent and systematic study of the Vedantic scriptures for a length of time. When I listen to all these scriptures, various doubts come. Through various study groups or through the teacher directly, I'm able to clarify. That is called Manana. And finally, the real conviction or the deeper understanding happens when you meditate or internalize these teachings, when the teaching becomes integrated into every aspect of our being, and when you wake up to this understanding that it is essentially a part of me. What is the benefit of this knowledge? The benefit of this knowledge, as mentioned in Taittiriya Upanishad, also says, Brahmavid apnoti param. So many Upanishads says the knower of Brahman becomes Brahman himself. There is no desire left unfulfilled. You attain to complete peace, security, and happiness. There is a question which Arjuna asks Krishna in the 2nd chapter. Who is a Sthita Prajna? What are the qualities of a Sthita Prajna? And Krishna replies, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogata Atmanevatmana tushtaha, the one who is anchored into the Brahman, one who becomes one with the Brahman, and that is the benefit of gaining Brahma Vidya. So what is Brahman? Brahman can be taken as that infinite God-like principle from which I have come into being, which sustains me and to which I go back to. Brahman can also be referred to as the existence principle or the Sat-Chit-Ananda principle, which I'm going to elaborate very soon. What are the ways of teaching the Vedanta? Now, the styles or the ways of teaching Vedanta is called Yukti, Anubhuti, and Shruti. Shruti means teaching based on scriptures. Initially, the teachers never go directly to the Shrutis, but make use of Yukti and Anubhuti. Yukti means the teaching should be logical, it should appeal to logic. Anubhuti should be based on one's own experience. The problem is what the Shruti actually says is not in accord with our experience, and it is beyond logic. It is supra-logic. For example, I want you to think of that era a few centuries ago when everybody believed that this whole world was geocentric. That means the earth was the center of the universe and the sun would go around the earth. And our experience was the sun would rise in the morning and would set in the evening, and that is the experience of everybody until a scientist discovered the truth. We are not geocentric but heliocentric. The sun is the center of the universe, and the rotation of the earth gives us a false feeling of sunrise and sunset. Now here there is a disparity between reality and our experiences. Now, when a teacher introduces Shruti, one of the very important criteria a student must have is what is called Shraddha. Only if there is Shraddha, then the teacher can come into the elaboration of the Shrutis, because Shraddha means what my teacher says and what the scripture says is gospel truth. So I will begin by trying to explain what Sat-Chit-Ananda is by working on two fundamental principles of Vedanta. There are two fundamental principles of Vedanta, and if these two fundamental principles are very clearly understood, Vedanta becomes very clear. And if these two fundamental principles are not understood, we need to work on these two fundamental principles. The first fundamental principle is based on Drik Drishya Viveka. What does it mean? Whatever I see and experience is not me, is ānatmā and not me. The first fundamental principle is whatever I see and experience with my sense organs is ānatmā, not me. It becomes easy to negate whatever I can see, but this includes my body and this includes my mind, because I can infer what is going on with my mind. So the first fundamental principle is I am someone other than my body and someone other than the mind. The second and a mind-boggling fundamental principle of Vedanta is whatever attribute I can see and experience belongs to the object of experience, not to me, the ātmā or the subject. For instance, I have this pointer in front of me. This pointer is black. It has got a certain weight. It has got a certain dimensions. It has got a location and space. It has got a date of birth, and one day it is going to disintegrate. Now, all these attributes, that means this, it has got an attribute in space. It is here. It has got an attribute in time. That means it has got a certain date of birth. It's got a certain date of death. It has got an attribute in the sense of color, shape, size, object. All these belong to the objects that I experience, not to me, the subject. Vedanta says, my true nature is nirguna. Nirguna means I have no attributes in space. If I have no attributes in space, although my body is located here, the real me or the ātmā is all-pervading. It is difficult to imagine, it cannot be our experience, but this is what Vedanta says, that the real me is all-pervading. The second attribute is that I am not limited to time. I have been there from the very beginning if there is a beginning, and I will be there till the very end if there is an end. For me, as ātmā, there is no birth, there is no death. I may seem to be limited to this body, but the real me is not limited to this body. I pervade everybody. And if this fundamental principle is understood, we have got the third aspect of Sat-Chit-Ananda, that the real me is Ānanda. When Ananta means there is no limitations. And when there is no limitations, there is no sorrow. And when there is no sorrow, there is Ānanda. Now, there is the references to this. The references to this come from the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. The second verse itself, in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna clearly says, Idam Shariram Kaunteya Kshetram. This body is the Kshetram. And the knower of the Kshetram, that conscious principle within me who knows about this body, is Kshetrajna. And in the next verse itself, in the third verse, Krishna makes a very, very revealing statement. He says, Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. That means that conscious principle within me, which is aware of the existence of this body, which is aware of the existence of the world, that conscious principle, which I refer to as Sat-Chit-Ananda, is Sri Krishna himself. And that Sri Krishna principle is not only there within me, it is there that functions through everyone. And he says, Krishna says, this knowledge is perhaps the most important knowledge. In the same verse, he says, this is my teaching. He says, this is mama matam. And this distinction between Kshetra and Kshetrajna is what Sri Krishna says is the most important aspect of teaching. So we have dealt with Ananta. Now remember, when I say Sat-Chit-Ananda, it does not mean Sat is separate, Chit is separate, or Ananta is separate. It is one principle which is infinite or Ananta. It is Ananta Sat, Ananta Chit, and therefore we need to see what is this Ananta Sat, or this limitless Sat principle. The Sat principle, now supposing you have a place which is completely made up of gold. I have never been there, but in Dubai and other countries, there are some places where you can go shopping called Gold Souk, where the whole shopping area is nothing but gold, and they sell gold. And now imagine if there is a place made of all of gold and of different shapes and kinds and varieties of ornaments. But if a person is instructed all about gold, then knowing one, you have known all. That is what is called the essential substance from which everything is made. Now, what is that Sat which is there? Then in Vedanta, when you say Sat, it means existent. For instance, this mobile telephone is existent. What do you mean by something that is existent? Existent here means E with capital, it's a capital E. It is not a description of a substance that it is existent. It is a noun as a substance, just like gold is the substance and various ornaments made of gold is only a certain name and form given to that gold. In Vedanta, or how do we discover Vedanta? How do we discover the Sat principle? The Sat principle is that which never changes. Vedanta talks about 3 periods of time. The 3 periods of time are the jagat, the awake state. In the awake state, you have so many objects available. But the moment we dream, these objects disappear, we have a new set of objects. So that which disappears in the dream, or that which is non-existent in the deep sleep, and it is available only in the waking state, is no longer considered Sat. And if it appears and disappears, we have a new term for them called Mithya. But there is one principle that is there in the wakeful state, in the dream state, and in the deep sleep state, and that is me as consciousness, which is available in all the 3. Another method of knowing the Sat is that by which you don't need any instrument of knowledge. For instance, to know the existence of this mobile telephone, I need my eyes, my various sense organs to say there is a mobile telephone, and to say, and when I make use of an instrument to identify an object, that no longer becomes the Sat. But if I need to, if somebody is asking me, are you there? Now, to prove my existence, I don't need my eyes, I don't need my sense organs. So that substance where you can be absolutely confident that is there without the use of any sense organs, that which is there in all three periods of time, that which has been there from the very beginning. For instance, now over the years, if you look at a photograph when you were a small girl or a small boy, over the years, your body has changed, your mind has changed, your thoughts have changed, your ideas have changed, but one thing has never changed. You, the indweller in this body, has not changed. So that is what is called the Sat principle, that which exists in all three periods of time, that which does not need any instrument to be aware of, that which never changes at all. And that is what is called the Sat principle. Where do we get references to all this? 16th verse, 2nd chapter. Krishna is trying to convince Arjuna, while on the battlefield, there is no fear of death. He says, Nasato vidyate bhavaha na bhava vidyate sataha. Ubayorapi drishtonta tattva darshibihi. He says, that which is existent can never become non-existent. And if you are sure that you are existent, and Krishna assures you, you can never be non-existent. Krishna also brings another nice verse in the 7th chapter, the 7th verse. It says, Mattaha parataram nanyat kinchidanti dhananjaya my sarvam idam prottam sutre manigana eva. I am that causeless cause of everything. I pervade in and through everything, including the smallest. And I invisibly pervade just like a string that pervades through a mala. Another verse, that is the 4th verse in the 9th chapter, goes that way. I will use only the first part of this verse because the second part is a little difficult to explain. It says, Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadavyakta murtina. I pervade this entire existence in an unmanifest form. So these are various references to the Sat principle, that invisible pervading existence principle. So the Upanishad tries to introduce ourselves so all our Upanishads are like mirrors to ourselves to help you to introduce who we are. So what is this Sat principle? The Sat principle can be now understood as the existence principle. Whatever exists, whatever is God. When somebody asked, what is God? Whatever is God. If there is something existent, that isness is God. I am, that amness is the God principle. You are, that are-ness. So these are holy words. Am, are, and is. And all these three represent Sat. Now, there is the Sat principle and there is this consciousness principle. Because of consciousness, I'm able to perceive this world. Because of that conscious force, I'm able to act in this world. Now, remember, the same Sat, the Sat and Chit are not too different from each other. Ramana Maharshi in the Upadeshasara, the 23rd verse, gives a nice phrase. He says, Sattva Basika Chit Kvave Itara Sattayahi Chit Chittayahi Aham. He says, where is that Sat existent principle that you spoke until now, other than the consciousness principle within you? He very convincingly say, Sat alone is Chit, and Chit alone is Sat, and Sat-Chit principle I am. The scriptures talk about 3 levels of realities, and the technical terms for this is, one is the reality of the world around me. I see so many substantial things around me, and this world around me is called Avyavaharika Satya. When I dream, this dream world has disappeared, and another world appears to me which is as real for me while in the dream. And that dream world, which is a reality for me in the dream, is called a Pratibhasika Satya. Now, I would like you to see the differences between Pratibhasika Satyam and Vyavaharika Satyam. If something good happens to me in my dream, or something unfortunate happens to me in my dream, while I experience the joy or suffer during my dream, once I wake up into a higher level of reality, my sufferings or the successes of my dream will make no difference to me while I am awake. The teachers say, and our scriptures say, just like that, there is another higher reality. That's why the Upanishads talk of Uttishtata Jagritaha. They say, wake up from this level to another reality which is called the Paramarthika. And when you realize, or when you wake up to a higher level of reality, the important thing is whatever good or bad happens in this world cannot really affect you. It is like now you have become so big, the goodness or the badness of the world does not affect you. And that reality is called the Paramarthika Satya. From Paramarthika Satya, Sat-Chit-Ananda Brahma, that Sakshi principle, according to the Paramarthika reality, which is extremely difficult to believe, it says, I am that non-material witnessing principle, that consciousness principle, which gives consciousness to this body, and which gives existence to the whole world. Very well brought out in the Kaivalya Upanishad as my eva sakalam jatam, my sarvam pratishtitam, my sarvam layam yati, tad brahmadvayam asmayam aham. I will conclude by making two references from the Upadesha Sara, which help you to understand this Sat-Chit principle better than anything else that I have been able to understand. This is the reference to the 16th verse in Upadesha Sara, which says, Drishya varitam chittam chittam ātmanaha chittva darshanam tattva darshanam. Drishya varitam chitta. The first exercise is to negate whatever I see. Whatever drishyam I negate until I come to the drik. And as I keep on negating, I negate the world of experiences, I negate my body, I negate my mind, I come to the ātmā, or the seeing principle. We always sing Mano Buddhi Ahankara Chittani Naham. This is the truth. When I'm not my body, I'm not my mind, I keep negating. This is the neti principle. And when you come to the chitta, or the consciousness, and once you chitva darshanam, the moment you come or you see the drik, the conscious principle, that is the same as tattva darshanam. The 17th verse of Upadesha Sara is the key verse to understanding again what is Sat-Chit-Ananda. The verse is very beautiful. It goes this way. Manasam tu kim iti marga nekrite naiva manasam marge arjava. Now this verse is explained in the following way. Manasam tu kim. What is this called mind? This mind is full of thoughts. And Ramana has investigated into what kind of thoughts. Now you are sitting in front of me. I am able to see you because the light is falling on you. And you will appear in my eyes as a tiny image upside down in the retina of my eyes. So the real you has now been an image in my eye. From the eyes, it is brought into the brain, and the image is seen in the brain as a thought. So the whole world of objects and people have now been reduced into thoughts. There are hundreds of objects and persons around here, and all of them are reduced to individual thoughts. And these are called idam vritti, object-related thoughts. And all these thoughts are supported by one thought: I am seeing you, I am seeing this, I am seeing him, I am seeing her. That I thought is called aham vritti. So we have idam vritti, hundreds of them, supported by one thought called the I thought. I am seeing you, I am seeing you, I am seeing you. And that aham vritti is supported by aham. So the whole spiritual journey is from the world of thoughts to the I thought and to the I. And Ramana says the key is to be able to destroy the I, because the I is the ego. And then he uses another word. He says, ahami nasha baji aham taya spurati ritsvayam paramapurna sat. So an important spiritual exercise is to be able to reduce and finally destroy the ego. Ego is useful for transactional purposes, but I am not the ego. And the more you understand that, and once the ego is destroyed, he says, Spurati Ritsvayam Paramapurna Sat. And finally, I would like to come to one particular verse, that is the third verse from the Dakshinamurti Stotra. The Dakshinamurti Stotra summarizes all this. The Dakshinamurti Stotra is a collection of 10 verses, and if these 10 verses are studied, the whole of Vedanta is there. The third verse will elaborate on the Sat-Chit-Ananda principle. The verse goes this way: Yasyaiva spuranam sadātmakam asat kalpartakam bhasate. Yasyaiva spuranam. The consciousness spuranam emits out of me, emerges out of me. The consciousness within me gives existence to the whole world outside. So the same consciousness here now becomes existence outside. And this consciousness is referred to or taught as Tattvamasi to those who surrender to the teacher, to Veda Vatsasa. So those who surrender to the teacher says that divine principle, Kshetrajnam Chapi Ma Viddhi, has divided itself into consciousness within me and existence outside. Of course, this is elaborated in various verses of Mandukya as Vishwa, Virat, Taijasa, Hiranyagarbha, Prajna, Ishwara. And he says, those who have understood this, Yo Bodh Ashrita, Yes Sakshat Karanat Bhavena Punara, and this understanding itself is enough. He says, if you have understood this, there is no more coming back to this world of becoming, to this world of Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam. The 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna introduces the Gneyam principle from verse 13 to verse 18. And there again, he talks about the Sat principle. And he says that there is something worth knowing is Neyam Brahma. It begins by, in the 13th verse, talking about Sat as Neyam Brahma. And it concludes in the 18th as Jyotisham Api Jyoti, the light of all lights. Now, you can use the word light of all lights or Deva Deva. What is Deva Deva? Deva means a sense organ. Because of my eyes, I'm able to see. What is Deva Deva? It is because of the light of consciousness. Because I'm conscious, whatever my eyes are able to see, I'm able to see. That Deva Deva, the light of all consciousness, is the Chit principle. And that Chit principle is the same as the Sat principle. And that Sat principle is the Ānanda principle. I have spoken whatever I could speak. And for senior students of Vedanta, if you want to revel into Sat-Chit-Ananda, I would still recommend Panchadashi, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Chapter 1 of Panchadashi, from verse 3 to verse 10, Vidyaranya, in his wonderful style, is able to prove that our true nature is Sat-Chit-Ananda through Yukti and through Anubhuti without bringing in any of the Shrutis. Thank you very much for now. If there are any questions, we will be able to interact. Thank you. Vibhaji?
Yes, there are text questions.
Okay.
Yeah, you can open that tag. The first, question is from Vishwanath Belliyappa. Doctor, you mentioned 2 principles to realize Sat-Chit-Ananda, very powerful principles. Could you let me know that what are the daily rituals and practices we must do to get onto the path to achieve Sat-Chit-Ananda? Am I clear, sir?
Yes, you are clear. See, this whole topic of Jnana Yoga is possible only for those who have jnana yogyata. And jnana yogyata comes through two other sadhanas called karma yoga and upasana yoga. That is why this sort of a teaching is never given by any teacher in the early stages. If you are very sincere student and go to a guru, the guru will first command you to work in the ashram for a certain period of time, and there you work not as work, not as karma, but as karma yoga. And over a period of time, when you do karma yoga, it is said there are 4 qualifications: viveka, vairagya, tibra mumukshutvam, and shama adi shakta sampatti. This viveka, vairagya, and tibra mumukshutvam comes through karma yoga. How do we acquire shama adi shakta sampatti? What is shama adi? Shama means shama, dhamma, uparama, tipiksha, shraddha, samadhana. Now, all these qualities come through another sadhana called upasana. For all busy people, upasana looks like a waste of time. Upasana involves various forms of mantra japa, various forms of prayers, various forms of meditation, where you seemingly waste time sitting quietly doing nothing. But if you are able to do this, the teacher gives you a japamala and says, do this mantra for so many times. Over a period of time, the mind becomes, it's called chitta vishalata, chitta ekagrata. So when the mind becomes more receptive, and when the teacher says, you are Sat-Chit-Ananda, the mind has that yogyata. So, as I said, the first 3, viveka, vairagya, and mumukshutvam, come through karma yoga. Upasana is through upasana you will be able to get shama adi shakta sampatti, to get jnana yogyata for jnana yoga.
Second question from Vishwanath ji is, Doctor, could you explain the role of bhakti in the path of Jivan Mukti?
Very important. In fact, for a Parama Bhakta, the onus more is on the deity, or the more onus is on the Guru to put you on the path. And if you are, by the word Parama Bhakta, if you are really devoted, and if your devotion is unconditional, the deity that you are devoted to, or the Guru, will find you a path for Parama Purushartha. In a way, Bhakti is a shortcut. But Bhakti is also of 3 types. Karma Yoga involves Bhakti, Upasana Yoga also involves Bhakti, and of course, Jnana Yoga also involves Bhakti in the form of Shraddha to my Guru, to the Shastras and Scriptures. So, Bhakti is a very, very powerful path towards Parama Purusha.
Mr. A.R. Ghanti ji is asking, please explain the term Vastu. Vastu only because there is no, because Vastu and Vastu 2 are there, but here I think in Sat-Chit-Ananda it will be Vastu.
Yeah, Ramana refers to as Vastu Kevala. Vastu means it is only one thing. Vastu means a thing, an object. Don't think that Sat and Chit are 2 different things. They are one and the same. There's another question. Ananta versus Ānanda. Are they the same? Exactly the same. Wherever there is Ananta, there is Ānanda. Wherever there is limitations, there is no Ānanda, there is Dukkha. They seem to mean infinite and bliss in a different context. Now, this is where it is very nicely brought out in Taittiriya Upanishad, where Brahman is defined as Satyam Jnanam Ananta Brahma.
No hand raise, no text questions.
have given a whole lot of references. So what, as students of Vedanta, I would like to sum up by saying these things. Let it be very clear that we are here for one objective, that we are here to work for Paramapurusha. So each time we work on a text, let us be very clear about a few things. What is jeeva? What is jagat? What is Ishwara? What is bandha? What is moksha? What is sādhanā? And how each of these texts will help us to get. And then I gave you various references. So whenever we enter those particular texts, be very sensitive to what the texts refer to, where Sat comes, where Chit comes, and where Ānanda comes. Very often, whenever these topics comes, the elaboration by masters like Adi Shankara is very elaborate. Well, it becomes more whenever, especially wherever this topic of Sat comes, and perhaps Sat Brahman is one of the most difficult things to comprehend, to be able to understand. To Vibaji, Swamiji, for this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was really enlightening talk, Veer. Very clear and very crisp. Thank you so much, Higreji.
Thank you.
We expect you to come often. Thank you so much.